just digest it in their own time.
But the worst thing that comes from that is that obviously we're still building the game. Is you write, it takes you like a full day to write this huge system up, and you're like, I've done it. And then the next day, one of the engineers will go, I changed how this worked, and you're like, oh.
Right. It's even worse than that, because the whole day that you're spending writing on it, you're not actually developing something new. So your work pauses for a day. You spend a day writing it all up, so other people go, like, I'm done. And someone goes, oh, right. While you were writing that, I changed this.
I changed this, and you're like, oh.
Yes. That's why there's a lot in any video game development. And I've worked a few places, but there's a thing called tribal knowledge. There's so much that is never written down, because it changes so frequently and rapidly that to spend time writing it down would be a waste of everybody's stuff. So it's the tribal knowledge can sometimes get a bit overwhelming, and I think that's a big part of where principles come from. It's the role that I often fulfill, and on my half of the things like this, it's just people like, all right, in 2016 we had this thing where we did this, and like nobody's touched it for a while. What is that? I'm like, oh, that's this. And you can go here and find that, and then you bring it out of mothballs and find out it still works, and it'll solve a thing that you need over here, like that. So it's always a battle between, you should write everything down, but you lose the time doing when you're writing, and then if you know it's going to change next week, you don't want to waste that time writing it down now, and it's going to change, but you don't know how much it's going to change yet.
About 3 years ago, I think I remember trying to write a document about how to put like multiplayer stuff, logic into missions, and I started writing it, and then I was like, this is going to take ages, and then I just knew on the horizon it was all going to change, so I just went, Luke, I'm not going to write that now. I'm just not going to bother. It'll be out of date by like next week.
The page says Ask Ed.
I just gave up. Yeah, but we've written it now. Like we've written them now because things are solidified a lot more. But at the time they were not super solidified. To be fair,
I've seen both sides of the coin as well. Like when I first joined, I found a couple of little systems where I'd go to Elliot and I'd be like, please help me with this. I don't understand it. And then he'd be like, yeah, that part is tribal knowledge, and we're going to do better, and we're going to write that documentation down. And then Ed and Elliot have gone away, spent, like Elliot said, a day writing this, and it's saved us so much time further down the line when, me and Lars or whoever's coming back to these things, we can just read it. There's GIFs, there's all sorts, to help us out. So
I try to put personality in mine. I put like memes and pictures, and then I have to go, because Ed is my senior. I have to send him the document, and he goes through it, and he's like, remove that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm not that killjoy. It's just.
No, I'm very well of the memes that are embedded. In our Halloween special we did back in.
Bueno, ¿qué pasa, chavales? Pues estamos haciendo el Star Citizen Live y están hablando con el equipo de misiones. Buenas, Ray Roger, buenas, Web. Y nos está comentando pues de las dificultades de, por ejemplo, trabajar en un proyecto como Star Citizen, y que claro, como está en pañales el proyecto, cuando ellos empezaron a trabajar en la empresa y demás, pues había cosas que querían hacer pero que literalmente no podían, o que pensaban en hacer pero no tenía sentido hacer por los cambios que iban a sufrir de forma rápida, como puede ser la lógica de multijugador, por ejemplo, ¿no? O cosas así.
Now, there's some, I don't want to, there's some, I'm trying to think of the word I want. There may be some misunderstandings or what about what the team actually does, because the name is like, for mission feature team, it's not missions team, it's mission feature team. Now you guys do make missions. We've done enough segments where it's like, oh yeah, I worked on this mission, stuff like this. But you guys also make the mission verbs, the components, the technology that then other people who are not on the mission feature team go and make more missions and stuff like that. So talk to me about that balance. Like what determines whether you guys are the ones who make the mission, and whether you guys are the ones who make the technology, like the time trials and stuff like that, that then other people and other teams.
Bueno, nosotros como equipo, el equipo de características de misión,
we always
a la hora de trabajar sabemos que hacéis misiones, pero también trabajáis en la tecnología, los componentes que conforman los misiones. ¿Qué hace que decidáis trabajar en una misión más que otras personas hagan las misiones en vez del equipo, ¿no?
New creator update, but internally we go, well, that's the location under attack module that is essentially for telling if there are bad guys at a location and sending out a mission to retake it. Then there's the timed item dispenser, which is what Jumptown runs on as well and Korea runs on, is just spit out boxes for us at every X amount of minutes. So we build all those modules and then build something to use them, because then we can go to the content teams. We've built this. This is how we used it as an example, and here's all the documentation. Knock yourselves out.
Right, and everybody from like the EU locations teams to the Montreal.
Claro, al final lo que nos está contando es que, por ejemplo, en lo que es Jumptown, pues mira, nosotros hemos hecho lo que es el cómo funciona la entrega de cajas, que funciona por tiempo y tal. O que pues en una zona haya NPCs hostiles. Entonces, cuando nosotros tenemos esto, vamos a los equipos a los content team, a los equipos de contenido, y le decimos, mira, hemos hecho esto, que tenéis la documentación de lo que se puede hacer y que tenéis el ejemplo, pues montarse lo que es Gentown, ¿no? Y a partir de ahí, pues podéis utilizarlo como gustéis, ¿no?
It's good for them because they can focus on content expansion a lot more than bug fixing, because I work with, I think his name's, I can't pronounce it, I'm going to say Guillaume. It's GT.
Okay. Guillaume.
Guillaume Thioret.
Yeah.
Yes.
I won't try the last name.
I'm sorry if you're watching, butchered it. So what he'll do is he'll set up the eliminate, what we call eliminate all, which is just kill a bunch of people at its location. He'll set it up, and then if there's a bug with it, because we own the base system, there'd be a bug with every single one all over the system, because they're all built modular. So then he can just go, right, there's a bug here, off you go, Elliot. And then carry on expanding, and then we can investigate into if it's on our side or maybe it's something gone wrong with setup or something like that. So it just gives them more time to do content expansion rather than focusing on these little bugs that...
Me está comentando una cosa importante, es que claro, ellos como equipo de Mission Fiction Team también se encargan de corregir bugs, dejando al equipo de contenido que siga expandiendo ese contenido, ¿no? Es decir, si ellos están haciendo una misión y se encuentran con un problema, simplemente pues derivan ese problema al equipo de Feature Team, mientras ellos siguen trabajando en otras partes, porque han hecho todo modular, de tal manera de que si algo falla, pues se pueda atender esa sección en concreto o se pueda atender esa sección en concreto, pudiendo seguir haciendo otras cosas.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it could be multiple, could be one.
Yes.
You know.
Gotcha. So the idea would then be that with all these features, all the modules and everything, that they can now go into Pyro and just start adding missions all over the place.
It's just like Lego. They're just putting the bricks on top of each other and figuring out what they want to build.
I've made some hideous Lego though.
I'm sure we all have.
I think one of the things that stands out as well from MFT is the fact that we do make those modules for everyone else to use, but we also think of the developer experience as well. Within, how do they want to use this? How can we speed up the mechanic for them to even just place it in the game and whatnot?
Yeah. And modules.
Claro, a la hora de dividir lo que son las misiones o las partes de misiones en diferentes módulos para poder ser combinados de diferentes maneras, ¿no? También. Si piensan en lo que es que sea fácil para la gente para autorizar, que sea sencillo y para poder acelerar los procesos, ¿no?
And back to documentation for all the editions.
You make an interesting point, James, about it's not just... It's so often assumed that we just make things for the players. But there are many teams, I loved when I get to do things with the tools team or whatever, and it's about the stuff that we make for the developers. You also have to make this interfaceable, usable by all the teams, and then you will get requests from other team members like, this module is impossible to use, I can't get it to do it. Can you put a button over here to skip this step? It's like that. Is there an interface? Is there like a specific interface for the mission features to use the modules? Like if I'm on the Montreal team and I've got to make a mission, and it's okay, what am I opening up to build it? Is it flow graph? Is it?
It's documentation. They open documentation. It tells them in which tools they can do what to do what. When we talk about, say, having that developer experience, when you, for anyone else who opens up stuff like UE5, that is a highly polished engine for wide use. Yeah. If any other games company, it is not widely polished. It is make it work, and then the devs can usually figure it out. And sometimes it is the most horrible or very difficult to do sort of pipeline. However, we make a big effort to try and go, right, well, if we put this here and put this here and this here and that here, that's going to make it more obvious. And we'll document it like this because they need to read the documentation because it's not always 100% clear. So there are little bits and bobs where we'll change how something works purely so on the front end of it for another developer, they can go, that's what that does, that makes more sense. Yeah. And we do a lot of heavy lifting on the back end to save them having to do that pain on the front end.
Some plain English inputs and stuff like that. But in the background, it's all like cables.
Chances are, over the longer course of development, there will eventually be some kind of interface.
Absolutely, it does.
Me está comentando dice... Discord, en el caso que yo trabajase, por ejemplo, en el equipo de Montreal haciendo misiones, ¿tendría algún tipo de interfaz para trabajar con las herramientas a la hora de crear misiones? ¿Cómo se haría, no? Y dice pues que no hay un menú como tal, ahora mismo lo que hay es un montón de documentación y pues cada y pues estaría todo documentado y te indicaría qué herramienta hace qué cosa y cómo hacerlo.
It's just a little wrapper that sits on top of Subsumption and lets them access it while inside the engine, so they don't have to go to another program. Yeah. But it is essentially just an interface.
Yeah.
That sits on top. So eventually there'll be something like that, and then this will just keep exponentially growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Claro, dice que eventualmente pues habrá una interfaz para hacer esto, pero que de momento pues que es como un amasijo de cables, ¿no? Lo acabo de escribir así porque bueno, pues son los comienzos, ¿no?
That basically unlocked all of these location teams to suddenly start going, we can now add races here and there and there and stuff like that. How did that come about?
Well, as you mentioned, unlocking those areas for those teams was one of the major goals there. And we thought, when it comes to racing, how can we make an implementation that can be used in so many different ways? Because obviously the PU is like a sandbox. You want to be able to just plonk this down wherever you want. You want to make interesting locations. So when it came to racing in general, we'd looked what came before. So we had scramble racing in the past, and we wanted something new. And we looked at what people enjoy doing, and we looked at the community in general as well. Like there's so many amazing racing communities out there. And what they'd done is they had these leaderboards on a website, that people raced around. Now you had to, trust the person had done that in that time, or there was no way of them actually having their times or anything tracked in officially. So we ended up coming together, me, Ed, Luke, working on this design together and thinking the best ways of basically giving them those capabilities of being able to do that in the game. Time trials akin to kind of rallying was kind of the first thing that came to my head. I'm a big fan of rallying, like Colin McRae and whatnot, and it also kind of benefited as well in a way.
Está comentando un poquito sobre las misiones del rally y demás, y de que bueno, que surgieron para apoyar lo que estaba haciendo la comunidad, y que lo que se le ocurrió pues fue hacer los tiempos de las carreras cronometradas, las carreras contra reloj. Y que bueno, que a la hora de realizar este tipo de tareas, pues siempre tienes que pensar en cosas que puedes reutilizar luego, pues es un sandbox también, y siempre pues puedes tener otras posibilidades para usar las cosas, ¿no?
Look at Ed being such a good guest. No, we're on the topic of 318. Keep it.
No, yeah, keep the show on track.
I'm like Tom Holland, and I'm trying to spill stuff.
No, but it's another good example of when we were doing the feature segments on ISC, because that story was about the physical creation of the racetrack and stuff like that. So you saw a lot of artisan, but it's a wonderful reminder that we can't put everybody who works on a thing in a single segment of the stuff. These are the people who have stepped forward to tell this story today. But there are many folks underneath, from mission feature folks to tech artists to animators to everything that all make these things possible. Yep. What else did you work on that players can look forward to in 318?
Korea is coming out.
The new Korea?
So that
which we're parked outside.
Oh yeah, that's really cool.
Depends on what side of the fence you're on with Korea too, if you enjoy it or not.
Yep.
PvP focused we tried for, so some people might not as much enjoy it, but this universe is meant to mesh everyone together, so if you don't like it, you've got to try and avoid it, or be a good citizen, right? That's the other way.
Be good, yeah.
Like I said, that's
Está haciendo una cosa interesante, bueno, dice lo del tema de Carea, ¿no? ¿En qué otras cosas habéis trabajado? Bueno, pues hemos estado trabajando en Carea, que está centrada en el PvP, y dice, puede que a algunas personas no le guste, pero no todas las partes del verso están hechas para todo el mundo. Si a alguien no le gusta, pues que trate de evitarlo. Me gusta esa frase en plan de, tío, es PvP, va a haber leña, lo que hay.
Spectrum.
We're always on it.
You'll
We're
probably
always
see his
looking
blue
at it.
little avatar pickled at random. Hey, thanks, I'll look into this.
Yeah.
So when it's all like perfect and operating, then we can blame.
Exactly.
But until then, we share a
Yeah.
little.
Hey, if you got a problem, at Luke directly.
Yeah.
Pickled at random on
Send your
Spectrum.
letters attention to Luke
Yeah.
Presley.
Pick
Yeah, I know he's watching right now. I'm sorry, Luke.
Pick your target.
Sorry. What else is in 3.18 that you guys worked on?
The Horizon missions, the go to an Horizon island and kill people. I saw a couple of people playing. Citizen Kate did a video on it. That was very fun to watch because there was this odd thing where she was playing it and the server performance was really good. So the AI was acting how they was meant to and they was snapping. And it got to the point where in the video, I think she said, "I need to put a silencer on because I keep just getting annihilated from miles away," which was very nice. It's a first step to sort of branching out sort of those missions into new locations.
And making more use out of it because
Yes.
we built those platforms for the Siege of Horizon dynamic event, but when the dynamic event is not running, you had this location, this beautiful,
completely
gorgeous,
free.
well-crafted
Yes.
location that wasn't doing anything. So it's double dipping where possible is a hallmark of all video game development.
Yeah.
It's if you can build something for one use, good. If you can build it for 3 uses, amazing.
Yep.
So there's new platform missions in 3.18.
Prison.
What? Oh yeah.
Prison stuff and the jump town changes, both done by our other designer Max. So he made the prison mission, he's made it so there's AI wandering about, you kill him, you can loot it.
Claro, está hablando un poquito de esto, de las misiones que va a haber, ¿no? Está hablando de las plataformas de Horizon que luego se expandirá, ¿no? Pero de momento pues tendremos donde acude el asedio de Horizon, el Siege of Horizon. Pues mientras eso no esté, tendremos otras cosas que hacer, otras misiones que ya hemos estado viendo en el directo. Y aparte está comentando por las misiones de la prisión, ¿no? Al final están comentando un poquito las misiones que vamos a tener ahora en la 3.18.
3 different locations to give those people a bit of a chance and sort of spread it out a bit more. So we implemented that. And then the other thing Max did was the Jump Town changes. We added 2 item dispensers into Jump Town. So there is now more boxes that you can get. And we also snazzed up the location with the help of the art team and the locations team, added a little bit more so it was less of a one entry sort of thing because that's a choke point. We wanted to add a few more ways of getting in and out and we've seen some amazing videos on that as well. We love watching all of them. Citizen Kate again, Bed Bananas did a good one.
Yes.
Burks.
I had to do 2 entire quarters of content on 3.18. I've seen it all.
Okay.
The patch out. What else is in 3.18?
Oh my God.
That you guys worked on?
Well,
that you guys
no, I
worked
mean, I've been working on Xenothreat, trying to get that up to speed with 3.18. It's a lot in 3.18. I mean, persistence is the big one, the big fundamental change. So, making a dynamic event work in those situations, it's a lot to do.
I imagine just little things like now it tracks mission progress, and that part in the Mobigas where it actually says you've actually done the missions. I've seen people on PTU. It's like, oh, I logged out. I did a mission like a week ago, and I came back, and it was still listed there.
Mission persistence isn't something that we have right now properly in 3.18. We will need to. I mean, I'm just stepping you back here. Well, it's more that persistence is. It's just that so much has changed since Xenothreat was last run.
Right.
It touches every system. Every system has persistence in it or not in it or whatever amounts of in it.
I might be wrong, but wasn't there a bug previously because of persistence where if the javelin was destroyed, its records stay there, and then the other javelin was trying to come in?
Right.
I don't know. I think that sounds like a bug we
I
haven't
saw
seen.
that. No, I saw that.
Yeah,
the javelin
yeah.
stayed, and then the next javelin came
And
in.
then came in like once there. We have that with we had that with the AI reinforcements that land. They land. If you blow that ship up, the other one just like, well, I'm still gonna try land there, even though you still exist. And it's a fun thing to battle.
No, we will be seeing the changes mandated by persistence.
Que ahora está comentando de que aparte de trabajar aparte de trabajar en Yantown y añadir otra caja que bueno, que han visto vídeos y tal de esto y que tiene pinta de ser emocionante, o sea, bueno, porque han hecho una mini prueba No, ¿qué coño? Iban a hacer una mini prueba, pero no la han hecho. O sea, se referirán a otras partes de vídeo. Porque no salió el parche, no se pudo hacer. Pero vamos, que está hablando también de la Xenothread y de cómo pues ahora la persistencia pues lo cambia todo y que realmente pues la persistencia pues lo afectará a todas las misiones, ¿no? También el hecho de que la Javelin, al ser destruida, en caso de que ser destruida, pues aterrizaba la nueva Javelin encima de la antigua y había una serie de problemillas ahí.
Array a lot.
Situation.
That's a great point. I hadn't considered that. There's a lot of folks have like a second computer under their desk and whatever where they run local servers, you know, because they're working on a thing. And for every time up until now, you could just count every time you loaded in, everything was reset to 0. You could just start from fresh. But now it's like, oh, where did I leave this with this last test?
Also, when you're fixing bugs, you have to be really mindful of that because you're thinking, okay, is this bug still here because it's persisted? Because I had an issue with that.
Right.
I was setting up some elevators, and it was there, and the bug was there. I fixed it, and then I ran the server again, and the entity had changed. I fixed it, except it persisted in the broken state. So I was like, okay, fine. Okay, so this is only a bug in this moment. So if I purge the lot, go again, it really is fixed. But it's challenging, but it's kind of fun.
It also messes with our debug tools. Like, so,
these are all good things, by the way.
Yeah, these are all good.
It's good. Persistence is good. We're just telling you that this is just a war
Views and
story.
opinions of Ed Fuller do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games, Farm Space Industries, or its subsidiaries.
Positive war story. So in the debug thing, when we're playing, like, so I'm testing a UGF mission, or I'm waiting for the shuttle because I'm testing something, and I'm stood there, and then like lads like, hey, you got a second? Or James like, you got a second? And I go over to them. And then I come back, and I haven't turned God mode on, which will stop me from dying. And all of a sudden, my
not good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm terrible. My food and my hydration levels are gone to 0. So my guy is having the worst time of his life. He can't see anything. I can't hear anything. And then I'm like, oh, I'll put on God mode, and then I do my bug. But then every time afterwards, when I log in, my guy is still dying of hydration permanently until I actually purge the server and restart. So I'm stuck in that hellscape of.
So basically, your guy is 44 years old.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing that happened to me was during time trials prototyping, because of persistence coming in, and I didn't, realize what it was going to do. I'd logged out prior, like mid-race. Went away for my lunch. I came back to record a video for an internal review kind of thing. Thought I was doing really good in this race. I was getting on time for the platinum. And then all of a sudden, my wreckage was just at the end of the race, and I just smashed straight into myself, which, ended my...
Ya están comentando el tema de lo que es la persistencia, que puede, para corregir errores, pues que a veces también puede ser un problema, que intentaron corregir un error y que el bug seguía ahí debido a la persistencia. En otro caso, pues estaba... el personaje del tipo se estaba muriendo y tal, y pues se seguía muriendo debido a la persistencia también. Y tuvo que reiniciar el servidor entero, comenta. Y luego, pues, también el tema de las carreras, de que estuvieron probando las carreras, porque las carreras estrellaron contra un escombro anterior, algo que ya nos han comentado varias veces, que es algo nuevo, ¿no?, con la persistencia.
We know investigations are in the mix somewhere, developing investigations. Let's just follow up on that real quick. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. We're still at the stage where we're working very closely with narrative. Because they might be making a story and it might have a certain scenario in it that I've not considered on the system side that I have to go reconsider. For example, one of the stories that Adam, one of the narrative people, had made up, he just added a little note. Is like set dressing. There are 2 cocktail glasses on the side of the pool, and I'm like, I didn't think about spawning set dressing. I should probably spawn set dressing. So then I have to update the thing, but that's all part of the iteration. That's why it's good to get the stories first, because then I know, right, my system will achieve everything here. So yeah, investigation's going well.
Cool. What else are you guys working on?
Salvage missions at the moment.
Salvage missions.
So we wanted a way to kind of show the new salvage mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm currently working on some different legalities and versions.
Go over the 3 of them.
Sure. So there's a legal version where we have a new company that's being made. I'm not sure if I can call it. It's called Adagio, and they're literally just salvage contracts. So they have a bunch of salvage, and they sell you the rights to a piece of salvage. Like, you pay us X amount of credits or UEC, and then that's here's your lot number. You can go get it there. and then you fly over, and then it's yours to keep, and it's kind of in the safe area of at this point, like a Lagrange point, where they kind of towed it there. Then there's the illegal version, where basically an illegal corporation, a new one called the Tar Pits. They're like, well, they hear about salvage, and they're like, well, you can go there, but we know that.
Ya nos está comentando de varios tipos de misiones que están comentando. Bueno, las misiones de investigación que siguen progresando bien. Por otra parte, nos está hablando este señor sobre el tema de las misiones de chatarra, de que va a haber una nueva empresa metida en escena que nos va a entregar contratos para ir a chatarrear, pues probablemente en un punto Lagrange. Otra misión de chatarra que será pues ilegal, otro tipo de misión que será ilegal, que será pues proporcionada por una empresa que se llama los Torpids, que son los torpedos, ¿no? que es una organización pues, que te va a ir a hacer cosas que no deberías de hacer, ¿no? De chatarrear naves y tal.
Here you go, but you might find people, and then we're really trying to have emergent gameplay, community focus. So
claro, luego pues también otro tipo de misiones que al final esto nos han hablado de ellos en el reporte mensual también, otro tipo de misiones que sería pues en terreno de nadie y que pues haría coincidir con varios jugadores, ¿no? Entonces a partir de ahí pues que son misiones que están planteadas para hacer engage, para que se encuentren jugadores, ¿no? Para que se encuentren entre sí los jugadores.
That predates these guys.
I wasn't even born.
no,
mate.
De alguna manera, además, al ser zonas que no van a tener monitorización, pues se va a cocer, ¿no? O se puede llegar a un acuerdo.
And will come eventually. It's actually 3 picos in a trench coat. So I'll spoil it.
Stacked on top of each other.
So,
Exactly.
what about you, James? What's in your future?
I think at the moment mine's top secret until it gets a bit of a director sign off. But I'm still keeping an eye on time trials as well. The big thing for us at the moment is there's a lot of data coming in for analytics. So everyone keep playing them because we need that data. We really need that data. So we can make the platinums harder. We can see if people are crashing. We get all kinds of data from that and which is the most popular ships. That all leads us into, helping us with our design decisions down the line. But that's what I'm maintaining at the minute.
Yep.
Yeah, what you had?
Well, I'm allowed to talk about that. We have planned a new dynamic event, which will be like classic racing. So it'll be like lap-based racing, and it'll be multiplayer. So time trials is single, you against the clock, whereas this will be like people together racing together.
A racing dynamic event.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the plan is to have we'd have maybe 2 new ship tracks and maybe a ground race in there as a mix, and then we'd also limit it so that you'd have only a specific ship would be allowed to race on the race day. Yeah, and
You
what
guys are
else?
also working on, there's
lots.
mining missions to go along with
Yes.
the salvage missions.
Bueno, están trabajando.
Resource rush. Essentially, once again, we give you you're buying the rights to a location that's far out, and there's going to be like an asteroid cluster gas cloud thingy, and we spawn a bunch of minables in there. And essentially, what it is that each player can buy the rights to go there, and then they have a finite amount of spawned resources that they have to mine. Now, we make the contract open, so it could be Salty Mike, but I don't think he'll last long. It could be Burks going in and everyone fighting.
He's just really bad, isn't he?
He's terrible. I don't
bad.
know why he still plays the game, but I've got no clue.
There's absolutely no reason for us to pick on Salty Mike today. I mean, after all, he's a CIG shill, and we secretly pay him under the table.
The words
Pay him for
are-
what?
I
He
have
can't
ruined
play
his
the
life
game.
today. I'm so sorry, Salty Mike. And so the mining missions are, also we talked about, making multiple uses of things. Obviously, a lot of the same salvage kind of underlying tech for that stuff. And then in the monthly report, this will be the last thing we talk about before we let you go. There was some talk about researching defend your ship.
Oh yeah.
Missions.
It's not really missions. It's system. It's like, it's probably what everyone's sort of been clamoring for. It's not mission. It's the right to sort of defend your ship, which is probably what everyone really wants, right?
Yeah.
They want to be able to stand their ground in their ship. That's what that is.
And not get a crime stat.
And not to get a crime stat. That's what.
Bueno, están trabajando varias cosas aparte, ¿no? Las misiones de minería, en las que, bueno, pues tú vas a poder pagar por minar en una zona y tener que minar cierta cantidad de material, que van a ser misiones nuevas que va a haber de minería. Aparte de esto, también quieren hacer misiones cooperativas de carrera como eventos dinámicos en el que, pues, por ejemplo, de repente pues haya una competencia y esa competencia pues se exija una nave determinada para poder hacerla, para poder participar en la carrera. Aparte de esto, están comentando algo importante de que dicen, estamos trabajando en algo que no es una misión exactamente, es algo más general, es el hecho de habilitar que las personas podamos, o sea, los jugadores puedan defender sus naves, es decir, que su nave de alguna manera sea su terreno, su territorio, y puedas y tengas el derecho de defender tu nave si alguien entra, ¿no? Y que no te dé Grimstad, claro.
I'm really glad you said there's always this persistent kind of narrative out there that, oh, they only listen to the streamers, or, you know, we've thrown a lot of shade at Salty Mike today. We only listen to the streamers or the YouTubers or whatnot. So it's heartening. You know, I made a joke, but it's heartening to know that there are devs, individual devs who are still going to the internal forums and, you know, reading the things that people are posting.
It's really interesting. I love reading the forums. I mean, there's a lot. There's everyone's got a voice there, and I can't respond to everything. In fact, I do respond very occasionally, but I don't because it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm not the authority on it. That sort of reason is why I can't respond. And even if I am sort of the authority, I'm not really sure what we're going to do, so I can't really answer it.
And we talked
I can
about
still
how
read it.
You don't always have the time to write your documentation. The time spent writing
This
replies
is outside.
time
That's
not.
outside of my work hours. That's stuff I do in my own.
Sometimes I'm sat at home at the work desk eating my lunch. Probably shouldn't be at the my desk eating my lunch on lunch, but I'm scouring through Reddit myself and I'm just typing in race, and then if you said something that has the word race in your comment, I have probably read it in the last month. It's the good and the bad, you know. I mean,
You
you got
set proper boundaries, work-life balance.
I need to set a little alarm.
I
to
just
stop reading.
Talk about Luke. I'd like to see this mentioned in his quarterly review.
It's just too interesting, though.
You get very personal about it. I remember I was watching a couple of streamers over Christmas Eve, playing Korea, and something broke, so I just remoted into work on Christmas Eve and was like, I'm gonna fix this.
Which is super hypocritical because when I tried to do it, it's like I was looking, he's like, it's your holiday, get the hell out of here.
I
I'm
can be
like,
a hypocrite. I don't
"But you're
want all
logging
of
in."
them to do it, so I'm like, you know what, lads, have a rest. I'll do it.
I'm still spying on all the Siege stuff, and I'm not even working on that anymore. I just want to see what people's feedback are.
So if we learned anything this week, it's that game devs have poor work-life balance and
It's because we
fail to draw
play
boundaries.
them, or we build them, or we watch them.
No, it's heartening to hear that you're so dedicated. That sounded like one of those E3 things. Guys, thank you so much for taking the
honoured to
time.
be here.
I'm honored
It was a
Honoured
pleasure
and
to
to be on.
privileged
here.
to have you on the show.
Speak to all of you.
I just got to ask, who's on your water bottle real quick? Give him a shout
Oh, that's
out.
one of our QA,
Hold it up.
JV. So
Here, give me the water bottle.
Take it up to the camera.
no, it's,
Tom, do we have my close-up?
we
do we have my close-up?
our embedded QA have
There we
this
go.
kind of thing where they kind of keep screenshotting people during Microsoft Teams meetings, and one of our QA started editing that,
Jamie
and
Dubisson.
the emote is from a streamer I really
Couldn't
enjoy.
be here, but he's on your
He's there now.
All right, that's Elliot, Lars, Ed, and James. And I'm Jared. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, the mystery of the Elmses. What does that mean? You have to stay tuned to find out. See you in a minute.
Are you traveling the stars? Exploring the galaxy? That's lonely, lonely, hungry work. Always remember though, Big Benny's with you. Big Benny always has your back. Big Benny, eat his food.
Kelso! Esports and the Bad Token Race Club are proud to bring you a championship event like no other. The Stanton 7. This exciting rally circuit pays homage to Earth's classic rally and Formula One traditions, pushing drivers and their teams to their absolute limit across some of the toughest terrains Stanton has to offer. Qualifying teams will push through 7 individual races, located across the system from the isolated moons of Crusader to the bustling city centers of Hurston and Microtech. Each race, pilots will control a featured vehicle, from the rugged Drake Dragonfly to the lightning-fast Tumbril Cyclone, navigate perilous terrain and conditions, as well as one another. Racers will face off on Magda, crashing through mountain passes and dusty valleys. Walla, where jutting cliffs and deep craters force pilots to thread the perfect line. And Cleo, where one wrong move means plummeting into a lunar sea. Racers will pick up individual wins across the races, but only the team with the highest overall standings can claim the title of Stanton 7's champion. Sign-ups begin soon. Get your crew together and join us for the Stanton 7. You won't want to miss it.
And we're back. That was a little commercial for the upcoming Stanton 7 race. It's thrown by our friends over at Atmo Esports. That's an old trailer from like 2 years ago. I went looking to find one, and the last one was 2 years ago. I have no idea if Bad Token is still their sponsor or not. If they're not, sorry, I wanted to promote the event. So I took the only trailer I could find online. So there you go. Before we get to our next guest, I want to do a thing.
Efectivamente, Squire. Taller Spaco. Efectivamente, ahí vamos.
That make up our set. I want to take a minute to showcase something that you may not otherwise have noticed or whatnot each week. This week, I want to talk to you about this. Do we have my close-up? This is Hunter, the Star Citizen comic by Adrian Atisor. This is actually a fully illustrated comic set in the Star Citizen universe. It's written and drawn by one of the OG Star Citizen backers, a guy named Adrian Atisor. This was produced in conjunction with Crash Core, a lovely org out of Germany. Shout out to Crash Core. And it was originally printed up and given away at our Gamescom 2015 event. You can see the Cologne Cathedral here depicted in the futuristic year of 2945. So these very limited. Can't get them anymore. I'm amazed mine still survives, but it's very close to my heart. And one of the first things I got to really put in motion here when I got hired into Star Citizen. So shout out to 80 if you're watching. I haven't talked to you in a while. All right. Joining us on the show now, in the back half of the show.
Nos estaba comentando de que eso es un cómic que hizo un backer hace tiempo y tal, y que es como muy limitado porque no había muchas unidades para comprar y fue hecho la City 5 de 2015. Y nada, pues Discolando pues es fan de esas cosas, ¿no? Pero sin más. Que nadie se emocione con que vaya a haber cómics de Star Citizen, nada por el estilo.
No association.
So, Robbie and Nick, who are you and what do you do for CIG?
Well, I'm Nick Helms. I am a creative director now responsible for the flight side of Squadron 42. And
I'm Robbie Elms. I'm the lead designer on Squadron 42, specifically the flight sections.
Gotcha. Now, this is where I do the biggest disclaimer I'm going to do. We are not talking about Squadron 42 today.
Swan to secrecy.
No, quiet from the peanut gallery. There's no conversation about Squadron 42. That's not what we're here about. If you're upset, send your letters to Salty Mike somewhere in Florida. You were on the show. You were on the show this week because you're folks that we don't get to see a lot of, to talk a lot of. But you have something unique amongst most people in CIG. You were actually father and son.
yes, yeah, we are indeed.
Yeah.
In fact, we've started to work together probably, was it 2011 or something like that?
Yeah, 2010,
So
2011.
yeah, been working together for 12, 13 years now.
Long time.
I'm going to ask Robbie this first. How is that? Are you okay?
The worst critic. The worst. No, it's good. It's frustrating.
Bueno, pues está pasando una cosa curiosa porque dice que son padre e hijo y que están trabajando los dos en Escuadrón 42. Y dice que a veces que es frustrante por el tema del feedback. Pero es curioso que sean padre e hijo y efectivamente estén trabajando los dos en el Escuadrón, macho.
Who got here
Y
first?
además están
I got
trabajando
here
en
first.
el
I was
vuelo de
working
Star
with Robbie,
Citizen, el vuelo y el
sort of
combate de
going
Star
back
Citizen.
Buenas a todos.
We were doing the Lego games and things.
De Star Citizen no, de
thought,
Escuadrón
right,
42.
why have a dog? I'll bring him across here.
Well, I remember there was like no hope for me as like when I think I was 4, you got me a Sega Mega Drive. It's
Yeah.
like here's X-Men, here's Street Fighter, get good, and just no hope from there onwards. I got hooked on games, and it's
That
all
was
I
my
wanted to do.
excuse for research, though, when you were a kid.
That
I used
was
to come
it,
in, the Nintendo 64, play
No,
GoldenEye.
Well, that's it.
and,
That was my
Tomb
that was my
Raider.
birthday present, and I woke up to him playing GoldenEye, and he's like a Bill Murray moment, like, shh, no one will believe you. Kind of.
Tell your mum. It's research.
Yeah. It's a meme. We're not gonna, this isn't a GoldenEye promotion thing, but it just had its remaster released on consoles. But it's a meme online about that pause music. But that really was, that pause music it went harder than it had any right to.
More, yeah, exactly.
I have many
fantastic
strong
game for the
memories.
The watch, and it says drop in.
Yeah, set to that pause music. So that's how that's where you got your kind of start and inspiration in gaming.
Yeah.
Nick, how did you, of everything that you could do with your life?
Well, it started off working with Chris. We were kind of sort of just finishing school and just playing around with graphics on the BBC Micro. And he was doing his games, Strikers Run and Match Day, and kind of said to Phil and I, because we all like doing art. We all did art at school. He said, "Come, draw some pixels. Let's do some stuff on here." So we did that. All of a sudden, he's driving around in a really flashy car. And Phil and I looking at each other going, what's happened here? And he's like, sold this game. And he's like, yes, what did this? And, he's minted. So then we sort of cottoned onto this. And, sort of Chris hung around for a bit. And then he went to Origin. And, obviously the rest is history.
So you've been with Chris for a long time then.
Yeah, well,
Claro, está diciendo de que este señor conoce a Chris Roberts desde que estaba en la universidad, entiendo, o sea, o haciendo los estudios que estaban haciendo para hacerle, bueno, pues para dedicarse al mundo de los videojuegos. Y comenta que en una ocasión pues vio a Chris Roberts pues pasando el tiempo, ¿no? Conduciendo un coche mejor y tal, y de repente dijo, pero ¿cómo has conseguido esto? Y tal, y no, pues es por haciendo este juego, tal, igual, y empezaron a trabajar en algunas cosas y en Origin también, y que dice que el resto que es historia, que llevan trabajando un montón de años juntos.
The games industry from there on.
So that's you in the games industry, but you mentioned Chris and you in school, and your association with Chris goes far back. Now this is okay. We have to tread a little lightly because we forgot to tell Chris that Nick was going to be on the show today. So I'm gonna try to thread a needle here because I want to know about your early associations here. How far does your relationship with Chris go back?
I mean, we went to primary school together. It goes back a long way.
LOL, dice que fueron a escuela primaria
glad you gave me a
juntos,
heads up on
o sea,
that,
con Chris Roberts, que llevan
being put
yendo,
on the
se
spot.
conocen de toda la vida, vamos.
Story about Chris, I think could have ended with career suicide for me.
I would never do such a thing. Tell me a story about Chris.
One that hopefully won't get me fired, and I think anyone who's obviously seen Chris will probably attest to it's fairly accurate. It's, go back to when we were like sort of 15 or 16 and we used to play D&D. Chris kind of got bored with the wooden delivery from the DMs. You'd be in a room and somebody drove in on. He's like, this needs more immersion, needs spicing up. So he got this idea to bring his friends in to do voices for the creatures. Writing a script. He's getting sounds like rain sounds and stuff, or wind sounds in the background, and he's having us all doing these crazy orc voices or dragon voices and things like that to play as a tape recorder while he's DMing.
Right, this is long before the internet, and there's all kinds of resources for that now. But
yeah, this is like I don't say how far back it is. Probably about 40 years back, nearly.
So I'm going to keep pushing. What kind of DM was Chris?
It was fantastic DM, but the thing is, I think it only went for about 3 sessions because it was so work intensive. Like I said before, we were all quite good artists at school, so we're even drawing, concept art.
Entiendo que jugaban algún tipo de Dungeons and Dragons, entiendo, porque dice DM, entiendo que es Dungeon Master. Se refiere y que dice que hacía grabaciones, que Chris Roberts hacía grabaciones de sus voces y tal, porque dice, cuéntame una historia de Chris que conozcas y tal. Bueno, contaré alguna que probablemente no me despida. O sea, porque tendrá otras que, claro, pues, hombre, si se conocen desde siempre, pues alguna habrán liado, ¿no? Y está comentando de eso, de que Chris Roberts grababa voces y todo esto para hacer de máster de partidas de Dungeons, ¿no?
Well,
Estamos hablando de hace, pues eso, 40 años o más.
I've done something expensive and bad. You know, my only interaction with Simon has to come with like, you're building a spaceship? I'm like, hi, Simon. Yes, we're building a spaceship. Really? I'm like, yeah.
I feel I'm partly responsible for that as well, because I used to sort of steal his pocket money when he was a kid, so I think that drove him into accountancy. It's the only career he could go for.
Are there any other elms this year I don't know about?
Well, Jamie was here for a while.
my younger brother was QA for a summer, wasn't he? Before we exiled him to Australia.
And New Zealand. He's been in New Zealand for the last 5 years.
Didn't cut it.
So you're here. Yeah, you're here. We talked a little bit about your history with Chris. Let's talk about you've now been here since the UK studio opened.
10 years nearly.
9 months.
2013.
No, 9 years this month.
Yeah, you just had your 9-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your again? I've got this. You can't see it, but I've got the angel and the devil on the shoulders here, and there are things I want to ask and things I want to push for. Just this yelling in my ear, and I'm like, no, you need this place. You just moved to the other side of the world. Stay employed.
Dice Escalante que ahora mismo que tiene un angelito y un diablo por ahí queriendo hacer preguntas que no debería hacer, pero que dice que sería buena idea conservar su trabajo ya que se acaba de mudar de país.
We have essentially here from the ground up, near enough, is when we first got, and this is not just even squadron related, when we first got quantum travel working, and it's like, oh my God, we can achieve this kind of moment of like, oh, the scale of what we're going at. That was like when the penny dropped for me, is like, we can do this, it's going to be great. That's probably my story.
Yeah, I'm sort of going back to when we first started to get some of the rushes in from the the actors and the team that Chris assembled was just mind blowing, and seeing that coming in, and then seeing the amount of it that was coming in, and going, oh my God, this is going to be huge. It's like hours.
Claro, dice el hijo dice que una de las cosas que más le impresionó fue cuando consiguieron hacer el Quantum Travel y el padre, ¿no? Pues está diciendo que cuando más me impresionó fue cuando vio todo el staff, la plantilla que estaba teniendo para actuar en Escuadrón 42, ¿no?
The other ship, I can't remember.
Dice que esto va a ser gordo, ¿no?
And somebody just got the idea. What happens if we try to leave in the middle of Quantum? And like everybody around was like, we have no idea. It's like we don't know what's going to happen. And we got in and disembarked from the ship in the first Quantum, and that ship stayed in Quantum and was flying with it. And it's like, holy cow! And it's just you build these systemic things, and there's what they're intended to do, and then there's what you discover they can do along the way, and it's a huge part of game development. That was a huge moment for me. And then you talk about the performances in Squadron 42. A moment I will never forget is in the LA studio when we watched the first assembly of the Bishop Senate speech before CitizenCon 2015. Yeah. It was all still black and white box and barely animated. All you really had to go on was Jeff Zanelli's music and Gary Oldman's performance. The Vandal, and I just remember seeing like the hair start going up on the and there's a. I remember there's a code to that story. I definitely can't tell, but yeah, just I will always remember that. Like I've got it right now, actually, just going back to that moment, stuff.
When Hannes' team got hold of it as well, they really did it justice.
Yeah. And before anybody calls me a liar, there's not a Squadron 42 story. That is a watching a video story.
Está comentando que se acuerda de la vez que vieron el trailer de Bishop donde se ponía a hablar a la tribuna y todo eso y tal, de que cuando por primera vez lo vio se le pusieron los pelos de punta. Incluso también pues están hablando de cosas del principio, ¿no? De cómo descubrir pues qué pasaba si te bajabas de una nave que está en Quantum, y dice que no tenemos ni idea de lo que pasa, porque no sabía lo que pasaba uno que lo habían probado, y ver que la nave pues seguía en Quantum y tal, que eso les impresionaba, que eran como, lo llaman accidentes felices, ¿no? En plan de que una vez ellos crean algo, pues de repente pues saben lo que puede hacer, pero también hay partes de descubrimiento de lo que realmente va a poder hacer, lo que van creando en el videojuego, ¿no?
I've got a head of lettuce, whatever that means, but I'm going to take it as a compliment.
I want to point out that my job is to make the shows. I host these things for like 1.5 hours every week. The other 60 plus hours is done with all the things that go into me. I'm not a professional TV show host. And so the moments where I just get stuck on something, hyper focus on something, I'll just drive them into the ground. I apologize to Salty Mike and to any trauma or dismay that may be caused by you being bad. All right, so for Star Citizen Live, Nick, Robbie, thank you so much for taking your time to hang out with us. Folks watching, if you haven't already, be sure to check out yesterday's Inside Star Citizen with a look at the Arena Commander feature team. All kinds of stuff coming to Arena Commander. Some are in 3.18, the Dying Star fixes. The majority of what you saw is coming in a patch later this year. We can't quite predict where, because we're still trying to get 3.18 out, and then that's going to affect all kinds of branching things and stuff. So we know it's coming. We just can't quite pinpoint where it is. But as soon as you know, we know, you will know. And then tune in next week. Next week is our next Journey to 4.0 special, which was an initiative we started back at CitizenCon last year. We have lovely Ian, the art director for Star Citizen Live, presenting to you the very first look inside building interiors. These are the new modular creations that are going to help us populate the commercial buildings of ArtCorp, Area 18, of Lorville, of Orizen, you name it. So stay tuned to watch that. And even Microtech, actually, I was like, which one am I forgetting? The cold one. So yeah, so tune in for that next week on Inside Star Citizen. I'm Jared Huckabee. This is Norman. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
Que viene al final dice que es otro especial de la 4.0 y que nos van a enseñar pues los interiores o sea, las construcciones que están haciendo, cosas que nos están haciendo los interiores de los edificios de Lorville, de ArtCorp, o sea, Tier 18, ¿no? de New Babbage, es decir, darle vidilla a los edificios y hacer cosas, ¿no? También. Y ya estaría, chavales, ha sido nos han hablado en realidad de cosas que bueno, pues más o menos teníamos claras y tal. Y simplemente pues ha sido un postrecillo ahí con esta gente que está trabajando en Escuadrón 42 y ya. Y ya, ¿no? Pues al final es que estamos en camino a la 318. Es lo que hay. Camino a la 318, chavales. También ha comentado ahí, bueno, es que lo voy a comentar. O sea, ha comentado ahí acerca de Salty Mike y tal, y dice, bueno, no le quiero provocar ningún trauma en caso de que te provoque algún trauma por ser malo. Malo como malvado, como tal, o sea, no sé. O sea, es en plan... A ver, ya que lo sacan a la palestra, mi obligación es comunicar, ¿no? O sea, el tipo pues es un poco... Hace comentarios que en el Citizen, pues hombre, de cara al proyecto, que es un poquito hater el fulano. O sea, vamos a dejarlo ahí. Es un poquito hater. Y ya está, pues hombre, si lo comentan ellos en la palestra, pues yo tengo que comunicaros porque está ahí, y punto. Mi opinión personal me la reservo. Ha salido parche. Y el parche que han sacado es... no sé qué estará pasando, pero por cierto, gracias por la suscripción. Buenas, José. Buenas a todos, saludos a todos. Ya sabéis que cuando estoy haciendo esto pues no puedo saludar a la gente porque si no pues me despisto de lo que están hablando, aunque en esta ocasión pues lo que han comentado o sea, no estaba tan cargadito de información, ¿no? Se estaban dispersando bastante en contar historias y tal, que bueno, pues está bien una charla. Lo he dicho, gracias por la suma ese. Eh, Está viendo opiniones e ideas, pero ya creerse programador es pasarse un poco. ¿A qué te refieres, Rey Roya? No sé, yo la verdad que no lo sigo. Yo no lo sigo, tío. No disfruto del contenido que hace. Sin más. Supongo que, pues como todo, ¿no? Habrá también gente que no disfrute de las cosas que yo hago y punto, tío. Eh... Estaba el tema del parche. Estaba viendo, pues, bueno, seguimos en huevitos y tal. El tema del parche parece que han corregido el tren de aterrizaje, pero bueno, ayer me metí para... Digo, bueno, vamos a ver qué me voy a enfrentar cuando emita el viernes. Y digo, me cago en la puta. O sea, no funcionan los elevadores. No fui capaz de salir de la ciudad y dije, bueno, ya mañana es otro día. Ya miramos a ver si funciona y tal. Lo que sí, chavales, he tenido que ponerme aquí a toda prisa y voy a darme un caprichito. Me voy a ir a tomar un café. Dejo esto abierto y me voy a tomar un café, tío. O sea,